back to Vinyl Friday, where I go through my records like a big nerd and talk about why I love them. Today we're going to be talking about Abbey Road. Yes! I spent the better part of this year learning and recording and mixing and filming and editing a video for the Abbey Road medley, the long one. If you'd like, you can watch it here. To learn these songs, I had to break them down to their most fundamental parts, and in doing so, I realized that the medley was full of things that I had never actually heard before, despite listening to Abbey Road for almost my entire life. So I really wanted to share a number of these things with you, in case you haven't heard them either. Obviously, I don't have access to the isolated tracks from the original recording sessions, but I do have mine, and I tried to make them as faithful to the originals as possible, albeit a tone higher because I can't sing as low as Paul McCartney. So in the order that they appear on the album, here are all of the elements that were new to an old-hand Beatles fan. Let's open up the project. We'll start with You Never Give Me Your Money. The first thing is the honky-tonk piano in the out-of-college money spent section. I was aware that there was an old-timey feel to it, but I didn't realize that it wasn't Paul McCartney playing very, very quickly on an old piano, slightly out of tune. He had actually just played at regular speed and they sped it up. So here's what that sounds like. Out of college, money spent. Which I think is pretty cool. Here's what that sounded like at approximately normal speed. Played on this here piano. It was a little bit tricky to pick up, but I did get there in the end. I made this piano as bright as I possibly could, but it's not a very nice piano. No offense, piano. So it actually comes across sounding like, as someone in the comments mentioned last week, a banjo. Nevertheless, that's how they achieved the honky-tonk piano sound. Second item is the tubular bells. This was one of a few instruments that I couldn't get my hands on, so I had to use the BBC Library of Orchestral Instruments. It's free, I highly recommend it. The bells appear just after the Out of College section. They come in on Oh That Magic Feeling, here. In isolation. Isolation. Quite a lot of harmonics in those samples, so I've actually brought it quite a ways down in the mix, but when you listen to it in combination with the piano, it lends a feeling of gravitas to the point in the song where it goes from playful to quite solemn. I cannot decide where I want this microphone. Point number 3 is how high the bass is during the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 All Good Children Go to Heaven section. Paul McCartney plays quite a high bass throughout Abbey Road. You can hear it on Something in the way she moves, as we'll hear later on Polythene Pam, most obviously on that iconic riff that opens and plays throughout, Come Together. But also this one. Here's what he's doing in the bass at the end of the song. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I really love that. I think Paul McCartney approaches the bass in this very creative way, possibly because he came to it from the position of a guitarist initially. He isn't restricted to the really bottom-end notes. He plays all over. I Want You, She's So Heavy is the other one that he plays really high bass on. I want you so bad, babe. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Enough about the bass. Let's move on to Sun King. There are two sort of lead guitars that do that really nicely. They blend beautifully. So neither really takes center stage, but they work in harmony, although they are not expressly harmonized. Anyway, I was aware that there was a tremolo effect on one of those guitars, but in trying to recreate the tone exactly, I realized that It's almost exactly the same as the one that John Lennon will use a few months later on Hold On. Here's what that guitar sounds like isolated. And then this riff. Now, how much does that sound like Hold On? It's easy to forget sometimes that there actually wasn't that much time that passed between the ending of recording Abbey Road and the recording sessions for Plastic Ono Band. I just thought that was a neat little forecast hidden in the grooves of the end of Abbey Road. Number 5 is the organ on Sun King. Organ is the second instrument that I couldn't get a hold of or didn't have access to. Out of interest, there were 3, and I don't know that you would call the third one an instrument. It's more of a sound effect. It's the whip crack on Polythene Pam, and then again on She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. Anyway, we're not talking about the whip, we're talking about the organ. The organ's really subtle, it's a little buried in the mix, but again, playing it in isolation, I realized that the part itself is quite beautiful. It's almost baroque, it's got these lovely contrapuntal elements. Let's listen. Everybody's happy. Kind of sublime. And again, as with everything on this list, I had no idea that the organ was doing something quite so intricate or so ornate. Just completely escaped my notice until now. We're going to move now to item number 6, which is the bass on Polythene Pam. This part is madness. It is so much busier than I realized. Sir Paul McCartney is bringing so much of the quirky, playful feel of this song. Let's have a listen to it. Well, you My favorite part, though, comes during the guitar solo. He must have just been having such a good time with it in the studio. You know, how fun is that? The stories of acrimony around the ending of the Beatles are famous, infamous. It is so nice to listen to this and know that they could still have fun. Beautiful. Element number 7. Some of the prettiest vocals on Abbey Road, rivaling because, I kid you not, are on Polythene Pam. I double-tracked all of them for thickness. I assume that's what they were doing on the original recordings, although it is difficult to tell. And they were so satisfying as they were coming together that I almost didn't want to put the lead vocal in. Let's just go ahead and have a listen to the whole verse. You should see Polythene Pam. Isn't that great? I don't mean my singing specifically, I mean the arrangement. The arrangement is fantastic. I mean, Polythene Pam isn't a throwaway song, but that is a hell of a good backing vocal for a song like Polythene Pam. And again, Polythene Pam is one of my favorite tracks on the album. It was probably my favorite track to record. It's just so fun. And it carries straight into She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which is our element number 8. Backing vocals on She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. So same deal, I recorded these right after I finished the backing vocals for Polythene Pam. Actually, I did most of the backing vocals on the same day. Let's just have a listen to one of the verses. They come right in at the beginning of the song and they swell this lovely crescendo. They really outdid themselves with backing vocals on this album. You know, like, they were always good at harmonies. It was something they said that they were really proud of from the beginning. Like, if you go back and listen to even songs like That'll Be the Day or In Spite of All the Danger in their earliest recordings, it's not a great recording and the songs themselves aren't well played, but the harmonies is solid. It's there. I'll do anything for you, anything you want me to. And then, of course, you've got songs like This Boy.
That boy.
Yes, it is.
If you were red tonight.
Nowhere Man.
He's a real nowhere man.
If I Needed Someone.
Of your number on my wall.
And Your Bird Can Sing.
You don't get me.
Throughout their time as Beatles, 3-part harmonies were a defining feature of their music. But this whole album just takes it to a whole other level. Obviously, there are these ones. There's Because, which I mentioned earlier. There's some really lovely vocals on Octopus's Garden.
The coral that lies beneath the waves.
It didn't matter that some of these songs were never going to be the greats in the canon of Beatles songs, but they still fortified these songs with some of the best backing vocals, some of the best harmonies on any Beatles song ever. And on that note, Paul McCartney's bass is incredible in this track. It's far from the most impressive track on the album, but in true Paul McCartney style, he does everything he can to make sure that whatever he plays on the recording is of the highest caliber. And he goes into total beast mode in the second verse. Maybe it's third verse. No, second verse. Let's have a listen to that.
She said she'd always been a damn.
Isn't that lovely? He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to include those slightly funky elements to this bass line, but he couldn't help himself, and that is why we love him. We're up to the final element, the final thing that I hadn't really heard before. It's on Golden Slumbers, and it is the horn part. I'm not gonna lie, this was my most challenging part to play, namely because I'm a terrible horn player. Any wind instrument, be it brass or woodwinds, not my strong suit. And while I've technically owned this trumpet for like 4 years now, I've really only had occasion to use it on maybe 6 projects. Every few months I get this trumpet out and I play it a whole lot for 3 or 4 days, and then it goes back into its case and I don't think about it again. I do get a little bit better each time, but I am by no means a good player. I'm not even a mediocre player. I'm a bad beginner. So in order to get these horn parts down, I basically had to do a million takes and then comp it together so that it sounded halfway respectable. This was my first go at playing the horns. I can't believe I'm putting this on the internet. I did get better at it, as we'll soon hear, and hopefully you'll agree with me. I exported this as Bad Trumpets Golden Slumbers. I did get better. I did improve over the course of recording this, but it took many days. Honestly, it was my favorite thing about this project. It really pushed me to improve my skills as a musician on several fronts. Obviously drums, I hadn't played drums before like May of this year, and it's now December. Lead guitar, I am a perfectly decent rhythm guitarist, but lead guitar has never been my strong suit, so George Harrison really pushed me to my limit and then pushed me over that limit, which was really nice. And then, of course, trumpets. As I got better, I found that I really loved playing these parts because, 1, it's just such a gorgeous arrangement from George Martin, and 2, every layer added brings a thickness, a richness to the whole. So here we go. Please don't judge me too harshly.
Sleep, pretty darling.
high notes are so hard. It comes back in here.
Get back home.
And again here.
I never give you my.
It's just some lovely little upper extensions thrown in there. Here's what it sounds like with the strings, which are not actually conventional strings, but an instrument that I built at the end of the first lockdown. This is the instrument. I wanted a cello, but I didn't want to have to buy or learn to play a cello. George Martin, man. What a genius. The Beatles were lucky to have him, and he was lucky to have the Beatles, and we were lucky to have all of them. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this episode or you would like to support any of the weird things I do, I'll leave a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page, where you are most welcome to make a donation if you wish. But no pressure, my friends. Thank you so much to everybody who has made donations or signed up as members. I appreciate you so much. So much. If you're curious about what any of my original music sounds like, I'll leave a link in the description to that as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you here next week. Have a great weekend! It was a bee. There's a bee.